What up? This is Caroline with the CWC podcast, where we believe that life without your favorite foods is not worth living. I'm going to be talking a lot about my journey to food freedom, and of course I will always keep it real by sharing the good, the bad, and of course the ugly. What up? We are back, and I don't know what episode number this is. We're just going to go with it. Hopefully you can see Freddie here. I always try to position Freddie where you guys can see him, but I forgot to check and see if you could see him. Hopefully you can. So today's episode is basically going to be a Q&A with me. I wanted to incorporate some information on the challenge, especially the 2021 challenge that's getting ready to start, plus like the prizes and all that stuff. But I figured that wouldn't make up like an entire episode, and I wanted to spice it up so that you guys had more to look forward to than just the information on that. So I will be going over that, but I wanted to make it like a Q&A. And then also I'm going to tell my story. So it might be a really long episode. Buckle up. I'm going to really tell my story that I've told 10,000 million times, but it doesn't ever get old, me telling it. And I always know that there's always someone new that doesn't know my background. They don't know my story. And so every time I tell it, I know that I'm reaching one more person, one more lady who will hopefully be impacted by what I have to say, right? I always hope that I'm impacting at least one person. So I want to kind of start from the beginning, and I'm going to have JJ put pictures up in this area so that I can, it's always better when you can see pictures, because I can talk until I'm blue in the face about my before and how I hated my body and how I was overweight. And a lot of people don't believe me. They're like, yeah, right. You've always been into this. And when I take myself back in time, every time I tell my story, like I said, it never gets old. I take myself back to where I was in that place of old Caroline. That's what I call her. I call her old Caroline. And I really mentally step back into that space of how I used to be and how I used to live. And it's powerful to me every time I tell it. So, but you have to see the pictures, because a lot of people are like, yeah, right. You never struggled with weight loss, and you've never struggled with food. And, so telling the story and showing pictures hopefully will be powerful for you guys. So, I'm going to start at the beginning. So, my before picture. And this obviously, the picture that will be up here is going to be a picture of my before is on the top. And then I've made a collage since then, obviously, of one of my most favorite pictures that my husband took on the beach at Turks and Caicos. But the top picture is me at my heaviest, me at my lowest. You know what? It wasn't even at my lowest mental point, really. That wasn't my lowest mental point. I was eating Taco Bell every day for a year, and just loving life. To put it bluntly, and I'm going to be really honest with you guys, that wasn't my lowest mental point. I will get to that. But that picture, that image of me, with my mom's dogs, laying in the yard with my bandana on and my gaucho pants, I was in such denial of how heavy I had gotten. Truly, I can't tell you. I didn't think I looked like that. Even though none of my clothes fit, even though I was living in gaucho pants and a bandana every single day, I wasn't aware. I have to keep checking I don't know why it doesn't stay like that, but it's driving me nuts. I'm eventually going to have to upgrade my camera equipment, because I have to stop and switch my camera every 30 minutes because it only records for 30 minutes. So I got to keep an eye on that. Anyway, I wasn't aware of how big I had gotten. And to me, for me, that was large. Like, and I didn't feel good about myself. This is when it started, when I realized it. So like when I show you that picture, like I hadn't realized it till I saw that picture. And when I saw that picture, I was like, oh my God. Like literally had like chills on my body. Like I could not believe that was me. I just didn't realize that I wasn't that skinny girl playing soccer and eating whatever she wanted anymore. Like that girl was gone. And now I had to start focusing on getting that back, because, you know, that's the only person I had ever identified with, was that thin girl who could eat whatever the fuck she wanted. And I didn't have to worry about diet. I never had to worry about anything that went in my mouth ever up until that point. Now, granted, I was on antidepressants. I was unemployed at the time. Don't ask me why, but I didn't have a job. So I literally woke up, drove to Taco Bell, put my gaucho pants on first, then drove to Taco Bell, ordered a lot of food, went home, binged on all this food, and then like fell asleep on the couch. That's what I did every single day. And then I gained a bunch of weight and didn't recognize myself. And when I saw that picture, I was like, oh my God, like now I have to like work at this and like get the weight off, because that's not me. And like I said, none of my clothes fit. So I lived in gaucho pants. I started to become very miserable with myself. And so, you know, at the time I was early 20s, I think, like starting to get into my mid 20s. And so I just started running. Like I just started running and eating nothing. That's the only way I knew that things would change. And again, that was just like diet culture. I was like, okay, starve myself and go run. So I started doing, and the weight came off rather quickly because I was still young. So the weight came off. Obviously, I wasn't doing it the healthy way. I didn't know a healthy way to do it. I just wanted the weight off. And then that was when everything started to just kind of fluctuate. I call it like the roller coaster. That's when the roller coaster ride began. I had no fucking basic knowledge of how to do anything in regards to like keeping weight off, you know, building muscle. I didn't know. So I just was jumping from fad diet to fad diet. And I know that if you're watching this, you've done the same thing as me. So I don't need to go over the fad diet hell, which lasted from about it was right after I had Kyler, when I was 27. I just turned 27. And I became desperate to get the weight off and to fit back in with my skinny friends. And I started a cleanse. I remember I did an AdvoCare cleanse, and it worked. I was miserable. I ate like raw vegetables for 10 days and dropped like 15 pounds. And then from there on out, so I stopped the cleanse and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to keep eating like this. Like, who can eat raw vegetables and drink shakes for the rest of their life? Like, sure as shit, not me. So that's when it started, like, okay, let me find something, get the weight off, and then go back to my regular habits, gain, you know, the extra 10 pounds, and then start another fad diet. I could never stick with anything long term because it was so terrible and miserable that, yes, it worked and did what I needed it to do, but then inevitably I would like go right back to square one. And so I literally had it programmed in my brain, like, you're miserable for a little bit so that you can get to where you want to be. And, you know, I was only focused on like pounds, like what is the number on the scale? You know, I just want to fit into my clothes. I was never, ever concerned with like what's going on internally, mentally, what's my mental state at. I never thought about that until I was in my 30s. So hopefully this is resonating with maybe some of you younger girls today. And I always hope that my story will help, like I said, at least one, maybe more, of even like the younger girls that are trying these crazy, crazy diets that you can only do for an extended period of time, and then it stops. And then you have, and then what? You go back to your regular way of doing or eating, and it doesn't work. So I did this for a very long time. I'll say from age 27 to probably age 32-ish. And so up and down, for about 5 years. And then when I got pregnant with Bryn, my second child, I didn't gain as much. I was much more aware of like not wanting to gain a lot of weight with her. And I didn't. I only put on, I think, 30 to 35 pounds during that pregnancy, which as opposed to Kyler's, I put on like 55 to 60 pounds, maybe even more. But I didn't want to go through that again. Like I had learned from being pregnant, giving birth, and then having a shitload of weight to lose, like where your fucking shoes don't fit and you feel like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I didn't want to do that. And I knew that. So I was really like, I was more diligent, probably for the first time in my life when I was pregnant with her. And so I did really well. Didn't have a ton of weight to lose after I had her, but she was a really difficult baby. And on top, I don't know if this is like interconnected or what, but like I had postpartum depression after I had her. And, you know, I talk really openly in my books. I say books. I've written one book, One More Bite, but then I've also finished writing my second book, which my sister is currently editing right now because I want to launch it in 2021. So look out for that. But I talk in that book in depth about my issues with anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder. And I'm not saying OCD, like I really struggle with the actual disorder of obsessive compulsiveness and anger issues. I open up about all that stuff I've never talked about, stuff I never, ever, ever in a million years thought I would be sharing publicly, because for a long time I associated shame with a lot of these things. And, but the more I feel like it's becoming more talked about, which is good. And I feel like more people are opening up about it, which makes me feel not so crazy. And it makes me feel like I'm not the only one. And, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, okay. Back to after I had Bryn and I was suffering from postpartum depression. I talk about my issues with OCD, anxiety, anger, perfectionism, all that stuff, very type A. And so I'm very all or nothing. I've been all or nothing my whole life. So I took, you know, where I struggled with food for a really long time. Food was my addiction for the better part of my life. Well, then I turned to alcohol. And I turned to alcohol because I was a stay-at-home mom. I was suffering, not knowing at the time, but I was suffering from postpartum depression. Didn't know it. I was not aware of this until 2 years later, and I'll get to that. Feeling like the walls were closing in on a day-to-day basis. And what I mean by feeling like the walls are closing in, it's like you can't explain it. Like anxiety that you can't put a finger on. Like normally you could say, well, I'm anxious or stressed because of this. This external thing is making me feel anxious. I couldn't ever, like, why am I feeling like this? I could never put a fucking pin on, this is why I'm feeling this way. That makes you feel even more crazy and out of control because you can't put a finger on it. Well, then, and then you start worrying, this is me. And then I start worrying about other people looking at me saying, why are you sad about your life? You don't work. You have a husband that goes to work. You stay home with your two beautiful, healthy children. What the fuck do you have to be depressed about? What the fuck why are you anxious? Why? There are people out there who are actually struggling. Why are you feeling this way? So then you compound like you're feeling a certain way, you don't know why, and then you compound it with thinking about other people and what they're thinking about your life. Then you spiral. That's what happened. I fucking spiraled. I didn't know why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And then I felt guilty for feeling the way that I was feeling because I envisioned other people looking at my life from the outside and wondering, why are you drinking yourself every day into like a coma? Well, not a coma, but like, I mean, I would start drinking some days at noon and drink a whole bottle. I mean, I was functioning. I wasn't like passing out on the couch. I was functioning just fine. Not, you know what I mean? But like my husband would come home and, you know, he'd be like, oh, what glass of wine are you on now? I'd be like, oh, number 3. And it's like, I knew something wasn't wrong, but it wasn't deep enough yet to really do something about it. I was just numbing myself every day. And like I said, I had stopped numbing with food and I started numbing with alcohol. And being, you know, if you don't have an addictive personality, you don't and cannot understand this. Like, it's very, very hard to understand this behavior unless you've struggled with it yourself. And so my husband had a really hard time understanding it. And again, like, you have this outside view of you need to be grateful for what you have. Then you start feeling shameful for not being grateful for what you have. And then it just makes it worse. And you are literally, before you know it, circling the drain. And a lot of the days I felt like I was circling the drain and like no one could help me up. Like no one could offer me a hand and help me out of it. And I still to this day, even right now, sitting here talking about these things, I still struggle with like attaching so much shame to feeling that way. Even though I know it was postpartum depression, I still to this day, because I still to this day struggle with like certain thoughts, and sometimes they pop up and I don't know why. And then I feel guilty. And I'm like, no, stop. Like, you can't attach guilt and shame to your thoughts. Like, you just can't. It gets you nowhere. So started drinking. The drinking got bad. You know, they always say like things get worse before they get better. And I hit a point where I was really struggling just with not just my life, but with like just being very uncertain about everything. Just very uncertain. And it got to a point where my husband and my sister were literally like about to stage an intervention with me and tell me, you know, look, the drinking has to stop. And before they did that, I was toying with the idea of signing up with this trainer that my friend had signed up for and lost a ton of weight. And she was like super duper shape. And I was like, well, I want that for me, but I don't know if I want to put the work in. Like, I'm scared and terrified. I don't know if I can put the work in. And so I want to emphasize on this part real quick, because this is important. A lot of you watching are like, God, I want to do something. You're like right on the edge, but you're like, oh, I don't really want to do it. There's not ever going to be a time where you're ready to do it. Like, there will never, ever, ever, ever be a time where you're like, yep, 100% ready. I'm ready to change my life. There won't be. I can remember this day like it was yesterday, very vividly. I remember like going to the movie theater one day by myself, because that's one of my favorite things to do ever. Go to see a movie at the movie theater by myself. And I was in the theater thinking about it because it was just plaguing me. I was like, I know I need to do something, but God, fuck, I don't want to do it. I don't want to put that work in. I don't want to do it. So I was very, very much like my heels were in the ground, but I was like, oh, I know I need to do this. So I signed up. I just said, fuck it, just do it. And I jumped in feet first, just did it. And I was like, this is it. Like, you're not treating this like every other time or fad diet that you've done. Like, you're going to commit. And it was expensive. So like at the same time, like, this wasn't something I was just like trying on my own. I was investing in a coach to help me, paying money, which I knew would hold me like really accountable. Like, you don't want to waste this investment. So I took it seriously. And, you know, being an all or nothing person with a type A personality and like obsessive compulsive disorder, I knew that I would do it and stick to it, which was good. I mean, it's literally why I'm sitting here today. I can't ever sidestep that. Like, if I hadn't signed up for that, I would not be sitting here today. And I took it very seriously. I was 1,000% disciplined. I was at the gym twice a day, 7 days a week, you guys. Like, it was intense, but it worked. And the weight came off, and I started, you know, the most important part of this story is I want to emphasize what happened, not just losing the weight. That's not the most important part. The most important part is what happened when that weight started to come off. I started to feel self-confident for the first time since I was a child. Like, as a kid, you know, you don't really think about stuff like that, like self-confidence. I guess you do. You're not really like thinking about it in those terms of like, but you're thinking about like what you wear. Like, you get to middle school and high school, you start thinking about what you wear, and you want to look cute, and you're on the cheer squad, and you want to impress the boys. Like, I always felt self-confident. Like, I never struggled with that until my mid-20s when I started putting on weight, and that went away. And I never thought that would happen. And so when that started to come back around and I started to feel confidence again, like, it was like a drug. And the gym replaced alcohol for me. So I want to make this very clear. When you have an addictive personality and you suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder, you tend to hone in on one thing, and that's your thing. So like, for my better part of my life, it was food. Then it was alcohol. Then it was the gym. So, right now I feel like it's my work, my business, Community with Caroline, CWC. And I still, I'm still in therapy for this. I'm still in therapy. I don't know that like you ever figure out like a perfect cure or a perfect like, oh, aha, this is why I'm like this. I think you just learn how to deal with it, because I know that I will suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder for the rest of my life. I know that I will. Hang on, I want to make sure I'm running on my time. Okay. And, honestly, I've really come to just accept it and be okay with it. I don't fight it anymore. Like, it is who I am. And I think that's another really important message. Like, whatever you struggle with, whatever is your thing, like, fucking embrace it, because it's not going anywhere. Like, you can learn how to manage it, and I'm still learning tools how to manage it, but it's still hard some days. And like I said, the gym became kind of like my medication, and that was my crux. And, I'll get to the point where that stopped. I couldn't have that. I still am to the point really where I don't have that as my crux anymore. And I'll get into that. But I want to show a picture now of, so when I lost the weight, I decided, I wanted to do a bikini show. I kept striving for like that next thing. So like I lost the weight, started building muscle, got to a point where I was like bulking, like where I was eating a lot and training really heavy. And I was in really great shape. And I was like, okay, what's next? What's the next goal? Well, I was like, all right, it's a bikini show. I want to do this and I want to win. So I took it very seriously. I'm going to have JJ put up a picture now of the day of my show, the morning of my show. And I was very depleted. Obviously, you like cut your water and all that stuff, and you're not eating. I was still eating. No, I wasn't having a lot of carbs. I don't remember. I was still eating my protein, and water depleted. So I look exhausted in this photo, and I'm looking up, and I got my tan. I mean, I look like a rail. And looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I was so like nothing. You get to a point where you're so water depleted that you can pinch your skin and it's like paper. It's weird. So that was me the morning of my show. And I thought in my head that if I could just achieve that body for that show, everything would fall into place. I kept thinking that magically I would like find this pot of gold at the end of the rainbow if I had this perfect body. And womp, womp, that didn't happen, even with the bikini show. So after that, I placed last. I felt like a laughing stock. I internalized a lot of that because I really was going to win. Like, why would I do something if I'm not going to do it to win and be first place? And when I placed last, I was just like, it literally felt like someone just popped my balloon and I was nothing. And at that point, I was very much like, what the fuck am I going to do now? Like, I thought I was great. I thought I should have won. I worked my ass off. I didn't cheat once. I took it very seriously. Like, what's next? Like, now what do I do? Well, what happened after my show is I had to go through my reverse diet, which is like slowly adding calories back in. It's terrible. You think like you're done. You've dieted for 12 weeks. You think you're done. No, you're not. Now you have to reverse diet. So you basically stay on that diet for 6 weeks. It's awful. And I just really at that point, like I became very terrified to eat. I was terrified to put anything in my mouth for fear that I would lose what I had worked so hard for. And I noticed a very bad path that I was going down. I mean, hopping on the scale every hour. Just being really scared of food again. And I just didn't like that. And I was like, what? I need balance. Like I just want to eat what I want for the love of God and look the way I want to look. Is that too much to ask? Like, is that possible? Someone teach me. Well, at the time, Josh had learned how to do macros and he was eating fucking Pop-Tarts and fucking macaroni and cheese and grand cinnamon rolls and like shredding up. I saw his body morph on macros, and I just remember being like, well, how do I do that? How can I, because I still didn't believe that you could eat what you wanted and look a certain way. I truly didn't believe it. I was like, this is horseshit. It's just because you're a guy. Like, I won't be able to do this. And he was like, no, you can. He said, I can help you learn. So he helped me learn macros. And for the first 3 months, I wanted to rip my eyeballs out of their sockets and like squash them and just die. It was so awful because, you know, when you are like kind of compulsive about things and like want to be perfect, macros when you're starting, it feels like almost like you don't want to do it at all because it's so overwhelming because you want to understand all of it, but you can't. It is literally trial and error. It's so much information. It's a lot of tracking. I'm talking it up like it's terrible. It's really not, but it takes a lot to learn. I'm saying if you're someone who's very easygoing and like blasé, you'll be fine. Like, because you don't take it so seriously. If you are type A, just know it's going to take like 3 months before you get it. Be patient with yourself. There were days where I was like all consuming, like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Like, why am I tracking every ounce? But it's because I was it doesn't have to be that crazy. Once I understood macros, the game changed. I slowly started adding in things that I wanted. So like for breakfast, instead of oatmeal with egg whites, I was like, okay, maybe I can add in some cereal in place of my oatmeal. It's a carb source. You are literally, it's carb or carb. When you macros, I'm going to interject a little bit of macros nerdiness on you guys for a minute because I know a lot of you are requesting like to know about macros and to hear more about it. When your body ingests a carbohydrate, say it's oatmeal, say it's steel cut oats or Lucky Charms, your body takes both of those and just thinks it's a carb. That's it. It's a carb. That's it. We look at it as, oh, this is super healthy. This is super unhealthy. Wrong. A little bit. Yes, one is better for you, more health conscious. Yes, one is a little bit less healthy. But ultimately, if you're looking at it in terms of weight loss, you ingest a carb, your body doesn't see this as bad and it doesn't see this as really great. I'm going to utilize it better. It's a carb. It goes in, boom. You hit your carbs, you hit your protein, you hit your fat every day. You're fine. So like undoing all of that damage that diet culture had taught me for the whole first part of my life took a long time. And it's one of the main rules. I don't have rules in our community, but one rule is you do not label food. Like you don't label it good, you don't label it bad. Food is food. Once you really remove all those labels, it makes your life so much easier. So write that down. Remove all labels from food. Okay, I'm going to stop it and then keep... Okay. All right. I'm going to start my timer over. Bear with me. All right. All right. So now what happened, still striving for what's the next best thing. So I had kind of learned macros, but I wasn't really trusting myself yet. I was kind of in the middle of like, oh, I don't know if I believe this. I don't know if I buy this, that you can have your cake and eat it too. Well, then I decided to do steroids. And I laugh because if I'm someone who is very much like, I don't regret any decision I ever made. I feel like it always leads me to where I am today. But, and you know what? I'm trying really hard. I'm almost there where I don't regret it because I'm able to now help others and talk about my experience and hopefully save someone else from going down that path, specifically a woman. But if I had my way and I had one shot to like go back and not do something, that would be it. Like that, I would go back in time and not do that because it did so much long-term damage to my body that I'm still dealing with that I wish I wasn't. And I talk about that more in my book that's going to come out next year. So it's just, you live and you learn. But so I'm going to have JJ put this picture up. I'll never forget this picture. I was standing in front of my mirror in my bedroom at like 6 a.m., putting on my workout clothes. And you can see the changes in my body. It was huge. And I'm not going to lie, I loved the way my body looked when I was using those. It was so easy. It was so easy. It was like, oh, I can just put this in my body and do the same workouts that I'm already doing. And my muscle's going to grow 10 times as fast as it was. And I can eat a large pizza every night and it literally like turns to abs as long as I keep working out. I mean, it quite literally was like, wow, guys have it so fucking easy. Like I've said my entire life. Like, you know, when you look at your husband and they're eating like a 12 pack of Oreos after dinner and you're like drinking a protein shake over the sink, like plugging your nose, and you wake up and gain a pound and they wake up with like 6-pack abs and you're like, God, this is so unfair. Like, why? That's why. Like, I remember when I did that, I was like, you men have no fucking clue how easy you have it. And I don't want to generalize and say all men, because I know that there are some men who struggle with their weight. But for the most part, like, you're testosterone dominant. Your body just kind of works for your favor, for the most part, for a lot of you, until you get older. But it's less difficult, I feel like. And I feel like I got to really, I feel like I really got to like get a taste of that when I did that. I hate even saying the word, but like, it was so easy. It was so easy. Like, I did not have to work that hard. I was already working out hard in the gym. So then it like takes your body to this other level where it's almost like a fantasy land. Like, it's like you can eat what you want and like wake up ripped. That's what it was like when I was on it. I loved it when I was doing it. I loved my body. I didn't love the way it made me feel. I was really tired. So tired to where, and here I'm getting to the, like, I will never advocate this. I don't want that to come across like that. I'm just telling you how it made me feel when I was doing it. I truly believe that putting my body through all that stress of overtraining, doing the steroids, I feel like that's what kicked off my breast implant illness. I truly, truly, truly do. Because none of my symptoms that I had associated with that I didn't have those until I came off of that. And I feel like, and I've read that when you put your body through some sort of a trauma, or if your body goes through some sort of a trauma, that can kick off breast implant illness. Like, they say that women who have children, that's typically, it starts after they have kids because that's a trauma. Well, I believe that that's what put me in that state and what has been kind of holding me down for the past 3 years. So I want to reiterate that was the worst decision of my life. And if I could go back and change it, I would go back in time right now and not do that. I would not do it. So if you're thinking about doing anything like that, don't do it. It's not worth it. Like I said, I still have issues to this day that I'm dealing with because I did that. And they weren't worth what I gained. Yes, I gained some muscle mass, but that went away. It's not like it stayed. That went away. And I put my body through hell during that. So much so that 3 years later, I'm still recovering. Let's put that into perspective. But I just want you guys to see, maybe put the picture up again, that photo. I look exhausted. I look fucking exhausted. I was tired all the time. And, oh shit, I skipped a picture. I'm going to go back and insert something because I really want to show this picture. It's a good point. Right after my show, like 2 weeks after I competed. So this was before I started with macros, before I did, the steroids. I was sponsored by a supplement company, and we went down to Dallas to do the Europa, and I was working the Europa show. Never forget this. I got all dressed up. We were going down there. I think it was like day 2. And I had Josh take a picture of me in the hotel, like right before we got in the elevator. And I stopped and I posed, and I'm going to have this picture showed right here. I want it to stay up. This picture, I remember after he took this photo, I was going to post it. And I looked at this photo and I was like, I look pudgy. Like, why does my stomach hanging over? Looking at this photo now, like when I found it in my phone to put on the podcast, I was like, wow. I remember feeling like I looked like my stomach was hanging over in this picture. That's how I felt at the time. And it's because it was after I competed, so I was still having to be really careful about what I ate, and I was terrified to put anything in my mouth. I remember at the Europa, like there's snacks everywhere. They had like protein donuts and shit. Well, I was like, oh, don't do it, but do it. Don't do it, but do it. So I was eating more than I had in 14 weeks. I was cheating for the first time. So this was that next morning. So in my head, I had eaten more than I had that day before. And when I had Josh take that picture, I was just nitpicking the fuck out of myself. Like, true body dysmorphia moment, like 100%. And I can look now at that photo and go, oh my God, that was like physically the best I have ever looked. But I was in that moment, I was nitpicking myself, and I thought, oh, my stomach's hanging over. I don't like the way my legs look. I don't like the way my legs shaped. Like, I was nitpicking everything about that photo. So I feel like that's really important to put into perspective. Like, you know, no matter what anyone looks like, no matter what the size, how skinny, how toned, how muscular, you never know what someone is seeing when they look at a photo of themselves. And every time I talk about this, even now I can nitpick a photo of myself, and I look nothing like that now. I can still post a photo and nitpick the fuck out of it and be really unhappy with it. And I've got 20 girls saying, well, I'd kill to look like you. Why are you feeling like you don't look good enough right now? I'd kill to look like you. But that's not what is in here. And I still am working on that every single day. I work on body positivity. I work on self-acceptance, not looking in the mirror and berating my body. I don't do that anymore. I don't allow myself to say things or think things negatively about my body. But it's work. It's day in fucking constant work. And there's days I don't want to do it. And there are days where I slip. And I'm like, I'm so mad right now. I don't like the way my body looks. I know that I'm in control of it. But I know that speaking negatively to myself doesn't do me any damn good. So that is like the first thing that has to stop. If you're watching this and 9 times out of 10, I'm sure every woman watching this is like, yep, I do the same thing. I nitpick the fuck out of myself and my stomach and my legs, my cellulite, my butt, whatever it is. Stop. Like, don't let the mental, like, you're in control of this. So don't let yourself say those things about your body. Don't let yourself think those things about your body. Yes, I know it's hard. I still struggle with it. But you can do that, and you can change that narrative. It's just taking a course of action and not allowing those thoughts and words. Don't allow them. They're not allowed. They're not allowed in your brain. You're fine the way you are. You really are. If you have a goal of perfect body, thinking you'll be happy, it won't work. You'll never achieve it. You won't magically be happy. I can assure you. I wasn't. I just told you. So then I've already talked about the other picture. So bringing up to Community with Caroline, because I want to talk about the challenges and the prizes and stuff. That's when I started Community with Caroline, was literally after my show when I was spiraling, scared to eat. It was right after I did. No, that was before. Yeah, I started the Community with Caroline, and then I did my stuff and got all big and muscly, and then the symptoms began, and I started my health slowly started to decline, but I still felt good for that year. But I had a couple of weird things pop up, like the throat stuff, my voice changed, which hasn't gone back. Constant throat clearing, that's like the one fucking thing that won't go away. And it's annoying. But like, when I started Community with Caroline, I was wanting to make a living out of helping women, and I didn't know how to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll just start like a challenge. It'll be a 30-day challenge. We'll just see how it goes. Like, maybe I'll get 2 or 3 girls to sign up, and 20 girls signed up the first month. This month, December, marks the 3rd year since I have been in business with Community with Caroline, and it is huge now. Like, it has skyrocketed beyond my wildest dreams in the period of time that it has. I still have like massive, insanely giant dreams for this business, and I know that I will reach them. It's just a matter of time. I love it. It's my passion. I found that when I started it what happened was I started preaching to all my clients and everyone in the group what I wanted them to do for themselves, which was be nicer to yourself, remove labels from food. Don't label anything off limits. Eat what you want when you want, but when you do it, eat small. Eat a small amount and acknowledge what you're doing. Number 1 piece of advice. If you're not acknowledging what you're doing as you're eating, you're missing the point. You're missing the game. You need to go back to square one. How many times have you mindlessly just shoved food in for no reason? Why do you do that? Why do I do that? So I started preaching these things that I wanted to work on myself. I was literally almost telling myself, do these things. And what happened was I changed for the better. And the things that I was preaching to them were things I desperately needed to work on myself. And so at that point, when I started catching myself, looking at myself in the mirror and negatively talking to myself, and I was like, God, I can't tell them not to do this. And then I do it myself. I can't do that and feel good about myself. So I knew I had to start working on it too. So I did. And so, like, long story short, 3 years later, here we are, We do 2 challenges every single year. We do like a summer challenge. This coming up in January, we're doing a 2021 challenge. And I mean, there's a $2,000 cash prize. I'm doing $750 for second place and $250 for third. I mean, essentially, number one, I want you guys to know that, like, if you don't know what CWC is, like, it's not a diet. It's not a diet. It is a way of life. It really is. And like, our philosophy is you can eat the things you love and still make progress, whether that progress is losing weight, building muscle, whatever it is. But you're also going to work on, and I didn't even start implementing this until early this year, is the mental aspect of your journey. For a long time, it was just the physical. It was, here's a meal plan template. We're going to teach you macros, whatever gym workouts we'll provide for you or home workouts. Make it work for you, basically, is what we do. It's not a cookie cutter plan. We make this work for you, your life, your schedule, your family. If you say, hey, I hate going to the gym, guess what? You're not going to go work out at the gym. Because I know, and all of my CWC coaches know that, like, if we give you something to do that you hate, there's an expiration date. And the true end game, the true success that is found with anything in life is literally just fucking consistency. It's doing the same shit day in, day out. That's it. You do that every day for a long period of time consistently, you'll get whatever you want out of life, whether that's weight loss or muscles or whatever. Like, yes, a lot of other things have to be in place, but ultimately, if you're consistent, you will reach those goals. I truly believe that. And so what are you going to be consistent with? That's our formula. What can you do that you can sit down and look at this plan and say, okay, this is something I can do for the next 12 months and I'm going to like it. That's what we want for you. So it is true food freedom. It is, you sign up, you become a champion. We call all of our clients champions. And what you get when you join as a champion is you get a meal plan template, basically a guide to follow that is specific to the macros that we get set for you. And everybody's different. Not everybody starts at the same macros. And I'm going to talk about macros in a little bit. You get exercises, which, like I said, they can be tailored to at home or they can be tailored to the gym. Doesn't matter. It's whatever your preference is. And then you have accountability, which is the most important piece with your coach. Every single week you have a check-in. And it's not a check-in like, did you do your shit? Great, go. No, it's very in-depth. I can't tell you the relationships that I've formed with my clients. And I can speak for Dana, Mary, and Lynn. Like, they all have formed relationships with their clients. And my clients are like family to me. A lot of the times the check-ins have nothing to do with their meal plan or workouts. It's like, hey, this is going on in my life. And then we talk. So it's very, very intimate. And I wanted to, when I started hiring coaches, I wanted to replicate that and imitate that. I didn't want it to get lost and be like a cookie cutter corporate type of thing. I don't want that caring to get lost in the process. So I was very selective when I chose coaches for CWC. And they all emulate that perfectly. So that's pretty much what we are about. And the challenges are super fucking fun. We're still running the first 30 days free. So if you want to sign up and get started today, you don't pay anything for the first 30 days. I might just keep that running just to help everybody out through this year and the new year. But Caroline.fit is the website, and that is where you can get all the information, how to join, what the packages are. We even have a package if you just want your own macros and then like a monthly check-in. We have an option for that that's cheaper. That's on there. So I still pinch myself that I get to do this, like that this is my job. It doesn't feel like a job, and I love it so much. And my goal, obviously, is to reach as many women as possible. It's just why I'm doing this podcast. I want CWC to be like a household name and for everybody to know what we stand for, because it really is. It's life-changing when you understand that you don't have to live in shackles anymore and think that you have to eat chicken and rice and egg whites and oatmeal and protein shakes just to lose weight. It doesn't have to be like that. And macros is how you break free from, I call them like the diet shackles. Anyway, so now I want to move on to the Q&A portion, which is going to be super fun because I had a lot of questions submitted and they were random. So I love that they're like about everything and it's not just about, just about CWC or just about my home life or farm or whatever. So obviously I had a lot just said food. Ashley asked, what is the next animal that you're adding to the farm? So for those of you who don't know, we have our own farm. If you're not following me on Instagram, you need to go follow me. My Instagram handle is at Caroline C. Mathias. We have like a funny farm. We have a zebra and a camel and Highland cattle, donkeys, mammoth donkeys, turtles, mini horses. Of course, we have our inside dogs. We have British white cows. Now my brain's going blank. Clydesdale Percheron, which are the massive, massive, massive horses. They're huge. We try to rescue a lot as well. We actually rescued a big, big Percheron horse a month ago, and she is the sweetest thing ever. We rescued a mammoth donkey who his little hooves were like so overgrown that they were curled. It was disgusting. And these people did not take care of him at all. And my husband saw him on Facebook and was like, oh my God, I have to have him. He is like, something's calling me. He is like he's one of my, I hate to say that I have favorites, but I do. He's like my favorite. His name is Henry and he is the sweetest thing ever. I need to get pictures of them to put up here. Okay. So maybe I'll do that. So we have Henry. I need to put Henry's picture up. I'll do a before and after. And show maybe his hooves before and then him now. He's like thriving and fucking spoiled rotten. And then I'll show you the picture of the horse we rescued. We named her June. And like I said, we have belted Galloways, which are the Oreo cows. They have that stripe down the middle. I got to show a picture of the mini horses. They're super cute. I'll get some farm pictures. I need to make a note of that before I forget. Okay. So next animal, back to the question. Next animal that we're going to be adding to our farm is a, now I forgot the name. Blue roan mammoth donkey, which is a massive stud donkey. They're huge. And they're really, really pretty. So that'll be probably the next thing that we're adding. Okay, here's a question. How do I know what macros to start at if I'm trying to recomp? Now, a lot of you guys were like, what the hell's a recomp? So a recomp is basically it's a recomposition of your weight. Now, a lot of people, you have to be like in the right place to do a recomp. I would not suggest just anybody doing a recomp because you're essentially recompositioning everything. You're building muscle while burning fat at the same time. It's not necessarily like, when you put into a deficit to lose weight, you're putting your body in a deficit of like what your maintenance calories would be at so that you can burn fat. If you're bulking, you're putting yourself in a surplus over your maintenance calories so that you can build muscle. A recomp is kind of in the middle to where you want to do both at the same time, but you have to be in the right spot to do that. So I printed off some stuff so that I could keep my notes because a lot goes into a recomp and I will lose track if I try to reiterate all my thoughts without notes. So body recomposition is the goal of increasing your lean muscle mass and decreasing body fat mass while typically eating at maintenance calories. Okay, so remember I said not everybody is really like, you have to be in the right spot to do a recomp. So if you're about 25-30% body fat or higher, you're probably going to want to cut. So, which means eating in a deficit. You got to get your body fat down to a certain spot to put yourself in a place to do a recomp. And then I already talked about like if you are really lean, you could do that. But you might want to not be at maintenance. You might want to put yourself in a little bit more of a surplus. How do I determine how do I know what macros to start at, right? If I want to do this, if I'm lean enough, I still have some fat to lose, but I want to kind of turn that into muscle. How do I know what macros to start at? Well, start tracking. If you're not already tracking, you need to start tracking. Just put yourself at a certain number. Well, you really don't even have to do that. Just start tracking what you're eating. How much protein are you getting every day? How much fat are you getting every day? How much carbs are you getting every day? You want to download an app like MyFitnessPal, start entering what you're eating, look at what you're at. If you do that for a few weeks and kind of figure out where you're at already and you're your body's staying the same, that's your maintenance calories. Typically what I see is women specifically aren't really eating enough protein though. So 9 times out of 10, if you aren't already following some sort of a plan from a coach, you're probably not eating enough protein and you're probably overeating fat. That's just what I see all the time. But if you're just trying to do it on your own, that's where I would suggest starting. There was one other thing I wanted to say. I think I covered all that. The one important thing I want to note about recomping is that you think that you can just keep kind of going to the gym and doing what you've been doing. If you're not lifting heavy and like incorporating progressive overload, you're not going to recomp. That's just the truth. You have to be pushing yourself pretty hard in the gym, probably 4 to 5 days a week, focusing, like I said, on progressive overload, which is increasing your strength week by week. That's really the only way that you will achieve a good recomp. If you're not doing that, your body will probably just stay the same. And I'm just saying that because I've done it myself. And if I know I'm not able, for whatever reason, sleep, stress, if I'm not able to put in the work in the gym, I'm not going to focus on doing a recomp. It's a waste of time. So I would just be more relaxed, honestly, and eat intuitively, which is kind of what I'm doing right now, as my body is healing from my surgery. Okay, so I hope that answered the question about the recomp. If it didn't, I'm here if you guys have questions. Okay, I'm going to leave that one. Oh, one of the questions was tips on what do I eat on the go? Example, like if I go to a gas station. This is such a good question, and every time I answer it, it never gets old. So you think just because you're out, you don't have maybe like your prepped meal, now I'm screwed, right? Like all I have are bad options. Wrong. You can literally find a good option anywhere you go. For example, when I go to the bagel shop, like they have, it's called the Healthy Start, and it's a bagel with an egg white and spinach, tomato, Swiss cheese, and something else. I can't remember what something else is, but it's really, really good. And it's super high in protein. And I never eat the whole bagel. I always take the top half. When they serve me like a breakfast bagel, I always take the top half of the bagel off and then just eat it to save on my carbs. But bagels are actually really high in protein, like really high. If you eat a whole bagel, it's like 10 grams. So that's like an example for a bagel store. Gas station, there's healthy options. Like almost all gas stations have turkey jerky, beef jerky of some sort. That is probably macro-wise like one of your better options. And then if you want to get like nuts, you have to make sure you have like, it's going to go pretty high on your fats if you get nuts to go with it, but nuts have protein. They have string cheese. That's a good option. They have fruit. A lot of gas stations now have really decent options. They almost all of them have protein shakes. It's like when I am out and about and I have to stop at Quick Trip, for example, I will walk in and get the, I think it's Muscle Milk is the brand. It's the one with extra protein, and it's like 40 grams of protein for one shake, and it's really good. It doesn't taste like crap. I get that. That's typically what I get for my meal because I always like to save my carbs and fats for dinner. If you're on the road and needing like a carb and a fat and a protein, I would suggest doing like a protein shake, maybe some beef jerky or turkey jerky. Get a bag of crackers or a bag of chips. You guys, chips aren't terrible on macros. If you're getting a bag, like most of the little bags of chips at anywhere, the grocery store, a gas station, it's like 40 to 50 carbs and 10 to 15 grams of fat for the whole bag. It's not bad. You could have that as your carb and fat source with a protein shake, or you could have turkey jerky with it. Like there's so many options. It's all about piecing together what you want and adding it into your MyFitnessPal so you're tracking it. So at the end of the day, like you could be out and about. That doesn't mean you have to eat like shit. There's options everywhere. And I don't even want to just get stuck on like healthy options. There are healthy options everywhere, but there's also like super macro friendly options everywhere that you can go in somewhere and make it fit into your day very easily and not feel like, you know, you're walking in and eating plain crackers or I don't know, something that tastes like asshole. Food. How do you make progress when it's not healthy food? I think I've covered that. I've talked about macros enough already. Like you can still make progress when it's not healthy. And what I mean by that is we see a lot of women who join and they are over consuming healthy fats like avocados and oils with their vegetables, and they're not making a lick of progress. They're actually going backwards. Well, we also take a look at their protein, and they're not eating near enough protein, what they need to be eating to support fat loss and muscle growth. So that's what I meant when I said, like, if you don't know where to start at all, and you maybe can't afford to pay for custom macros or whatever that is, which, you know, the option I mentioned earlier on the website is very affordable, and we provide you with those custom macros for you and your goals. And then we have check-ins once a month to make sure you are hitting those goals. So I want to interject that. It's very important because we take all the guesswork out of it. For the love of God, don't go online and use a macro calculator. Don't do it. Oh shit, that scared the fuck out of me. That scared the fuck out of me. Don't do a macro calculator. They're inaccurate. They don't take in enough information. When we look at calculating someone's macros, it is not just age, weight, height, goals, activity level. It is age, weight, height, goals, activity level. What's your job like? What's your stress levels like? What's your sleep like? What are your long-term goals? What do you want to do right now? Like, there's so much that we take into account to make sure that we're providing you the exact, and there's really no like perfect macros, to be honest, but good starting point. An adequate amount of protein, which is like 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. That's another thing that the online macro calculators don't fucking take into account. They auto-populate based on what you put in as your weight. So for instance, if a woman weighs 200 pounds and she says, okay, here's my age, weight, height, here are my goals, that online macro calculator is going to give you a gram of protein per pound of weight, total body weight. That's not what you want to go off of. So then it's going to populate 200 grams of protein. That's way too much. It's way too much for a woman. That's what I'm trying to get at. So like typically a good average just for like good measure is, I don't know, 120 to 140, 150 grams of protein, depending on your weight, your goals, your activity, all those things. So please God, don't go into the online macro calculators. They're not right. And they put you at a very low caloric intake, which is not going to help you. Your body needs to eat to burn. It's like a car. Did those. Okay, I'm going to save that one for last. I have 3 more questions I want to hit. One said, I get a mental block when I try to actually understand macros. Is there an easy way to break it down to understand better and stick? No. I hate to say that and be like a bummer, but no. It's practice. Practice makes perfect. I told you guys it took me 3 months of hell learning macros. The best advice I can give is we have a course on the website teaching you how to track macros, not just how to track them, but how to enter recipes, how to enter meals into MyFitnessPal so that when you go to put that meal in next time, you're not calculating for a fucking hour. You're typing in the meal that you've created and it shows you what portions. Okay, I'm going to have 3 cups of this. Okay, that's how much, that's what the macros are for those 3 cups. Dana put together this macro course like a year and a half ago and it's fucking gold. It is gold. It's like about 1 hour total. So it's super easy. She breaks it up into like 7 videos and it can take a beginner who knows nothing about macros and show them and they will be an expert by the time they finish the course. I've seen it happen with, I can't tell you how many clients. That's a good place to start. If you're just starting basic, download MyFitnessPal and just start entering your food. Like that's my best advice. And stick with it and be patient. There's not really like an aha click moment that I can like tell you you'll magically understand it all. It took me 3 months. Someone asked me about my skincare routine. I think this is really funny. It's very basic. I am someone who tried like all those fancy serums and all those fancy toners and all those fancy night creams and all that fancy fucking crap and spent so much money for so long. And I was always broken out. My face would always break out. So like I remember one specific time I went to Walgreens and I got this like grapefruit toner and it smelled really good. Sorry, I popped my knuckles. And I started using it and my face broke out so bad. And I was like, I can't do anything. I can't put anything on my face. It breaks out every time. Like even if I use just like salicylic acid, it breaks out. So I started using this stuff. It's called Dr. Wood's black soap. And it's like $6 at, I think I got it at Aiken's. Now I just ordered it on Amazon. But it is it's like a very basic, it's not, I think it's a cleanser. It's real thick and it smells really good. But I've been using that for the past, I don't know, 8-9 years, and I don't do anything else. Like, I'm not using an expensive night cream. I don't use night cream at all. I don't use toner. I use rose water to spritz. I guess I do have a routine. It's pretty basic though. I don't wear makeup a lot anymore. I make sure to wash my makeup brushes consistently. Like, I try to do, I'm still not great about it, but I try to do it often. The cleaner you can keep your makeup brushes, the less bacteria is on them, which causes breakouts. So I would say try not to wear as much makeup. I hardly ever, like today I put on a little bit of powder and like bronzer right here. And then of course my luminizer and then some eye stuff. But like I hardly ever wear makeup anymore. Keep your makeup brushes clean. And if you don't want to buy a really expensive makeup brush cleanser, you can use baby shampoo. I just buy baby shampoo and mix it with like warm water and clean my makeup brushes. Dr. Woods is the soap I use on my face. And then I sometimes spritz with rose water. And again, I got that on Amazon. It was really cheap. I have Clinique, the old school yellow Clinique lotion for in the winter when my face gets really motherfucking dry and starts peeling. Then I use that. Summertime, I don't use jack shit for like a moisturizer. Nothing. So my skincare routine is extremely basic. And I found that when I stopped trying to use all of that shit that they fucking pepper at you through like advertisements, like when I stopped using all that stuff, my face cleared up drastically. So I would say like the simpler, the better. And it doesn't have to be expensive. Like I said, Dr. Woods soap's like $6. The fucking rose water, which you don't even really need that was like $5. And I mean, that lasts me months and months. Simple is always better. What intentions to set for the new year? So I am not a resolution person. I don't like making New Year's resolutions. I like making goals. So I will sit down and I've already done it. I make a list of like my personal goals for business, myself, my family, all of those things for the upcoming year and put them on paper, like put them somewhere where you can see it. And, you know, people talk about vision boards and I've always been like, God, that's so fucking cheesy, but it works. If you make a vision board, it works. I have like a whiteboard over here that I keep all of my visions and goals and things I want to work on. It's more business related, but I have that on my wall all the fucking time. I look at it every day. It's a constant reminder of, oh, I need to do that. Oh, I need to do that. Yes, I want to keep working on that. It literally keeps it in the forefront of your mind, as opposed to if you're not writing it down and looking at it, you're gonna fucking forget about it. So, and it will fall to the back burner when you get stressed. So I say, make that vision board, sit down and write down your goals for the year ahead and get really intentional on how to meet those goals. Don't just write them down and think they're magically going to happen. That won't happen. It won't. You have to work at it. Okay. And I'm going to touch a little bit more on that here in a second. I want to talk about this. Dana wanted me to include this, and it was so good when she said this. I had forgotten about it. She said, I want you to talk about how to have balance in your life and how to learn to say no and be okay with it. Stop worrying about, these are the notes I put down. I put, stop worrying about a perfectly clean house or being the perfect mom or saying no to things to spare someone's feelings. How I've gotten better at this, set boundaries for yourself and your life. So I am someone who used to be a yes person. And I said yes because I didn't want to hurt someone else's feelings. I said yes because I didn't want to be looked at a certain way. And I was miserable a lot of the time. I am extremely introverted. I know that it probably doesn't appear that way because of my job. And, you know, I'm on social media all the time. That's my job. And even prior to it being my job, I was always on social media. I don't know. I always did my live videos and post every day. And I don't know why. I've just always done that. But my downtime, like with my family, my alone time, like I want that time to be my time. And like there's even times where I go out of town by myself and I'll stay at a hotel by myself. Like I have to have that time to like regenerate almost. Like I have to have alone time. I'm one of those people that I need it. Almost like I need oxygen. And I've never been extroverted. I've never enjoyed being around other people. You're getting to know a lot of secrets about me. I don't think this is a secret, but I I noticed it when I was in high school and we would have parties, like your friends have parties and you go and you drink beer and get drunk and act like a fucking idiot. I hated, if I was hammered, I was fine. And that's what kind of started like the drinking. It started in high school. If I found that if I could drink and get fucking obliterated, I was fine. I was like the life of the party. If I wasn't drinking, I wanted to go home. Like I did not want to be there at all. So that's kind of where like it was just a horrible imbalance of, it's just all or nothing. Like I'm either not drinking at all and I'm a fucking heinous bitch to be around, or I'm drunk and I'm the life of the party. So that was what I had to do to fit in, or I guess how I felt like I needed to fit in. I just didn't like being in groups. I didn't like being at a party where a lot of people were there. I don't know. I just never did. That was me. And I still am like that to this day. It's gotten worse. It's gotten worse as I'm older. And you can ask my husband, like he is the type that used to like having people over all the time. And I would literally be like, please stop. Like, I don't want to have people over. I just want to be like with us and our family. And now that my job requires me to be more emotionally available and I talk to people on a day-to-day basis which I love, but it takes a little bit more out of me emotionally, because I do genuinely care about all my clients. Like I said, they're my family. So some weeks it's a lot and I have to decompress, and like my weekends are for decompressing, but I feel like I have gotten really good at saying no, setting boundaries to protect me and my energy, which we tend to feel bad for this. And like I was talking about earlier in this video, I was basically saying, why am I feeling shameful for feeling a certain way when I don't even know why I'm feeling this way? This is the same thing. I had to let go of that idea that I had to always say yes and I had to be okay with doing a certain thing. Once I started saying no and no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to either put up with it, or I'm not going to be around that person, or I don't want to do this. I don't know. It felt good and it wasn't a thing. And I made sure not to attach shame or guilt to it. And I don't. Sometimes I feel bitchy, but I immediately am like, nope, I don't want to do that. And I don't have the capacity and I'm not going to fucking apologize for it. So I think that this is a really important lesson, especially for women. We tend to feel like we have to do everything. And if you're someone who is type A like me and you're OCD, you guys, I used to before I had kids, there was like a running joke. My best friend Katie had started having kids before any of us. So she was the only one that had a baby. And so she would come over and Hudson would play with like the Tupperware, and she'd get it out of my cabinets and play with it on the ground. And Katie would joke and be like, oh, I bet you're going to run that through your dishwasher when we leave. I'm like, probably. Like, that's how OCD I was. I was like that color coded, everything has a spot and a label. Everything's spotless and clean at all times. If there's a piece of dog hair, it's getting cleaned up. Like that's how I had to live. Well, when you have kids, you physically cannot hang on to that, or you'll go crazy. You will literally end up in an asylum trying to keep everything clean. It just doesn't happen. And so I've had to relinquish that, and it's been really hard. It's been really hard. I still have moments where I flip out and want to just throw everything away and own nothing. But that is something that you have to let go of when you're a mom. You can't be a perfect mom. You can't cook a meal every single night. You can't have a perfectly clean house all the time. So one of the main things is, since I started working more and running my own business requires a lot. I literally never shut off ever. I don't stop working, even when I'm at home. My husband is the same way. He owns his own business. What we've been doing since Thanksgiving of this year, normally I would freaking go crazy and expect myself to cook this big meal, and I should do this because it's Thanksgiving and I need to cook because I'm the mom and I'm the wife and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, fuck that shit. Can I order dinner from the tavern? They're offering a Thanksgiving dinner. And he was like, whatever's going to make life easy. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. So we ordered Thanksgiving dinner. Again, I talked about this in a previous episode, outsource. Quit feeling bad about it and just do what works for you. So for us, with how busy we are, and we have a farm and 2 kids, and that was easy. It made my life easy. I didn't have to cook a fucking thing. Except for the crock-pot creamy cheesy corn, which my kids have to have at every holiday. But that's easy as fuck. No cleanup, no dishes, no cooking. It was glorious. And it was worth every penny. So then when Christmas rolled around last week, I did the same thing. I ordered that, and I ordered dessert, and I ordered cookies, and we didn't have to do shit. And I swear, I think we're going to make this like a theme now. I'm going to do it at every holiday. I don't think I'll cook ever again. I'm dead serious. As long as we're this busy, what's the point? What's the point in adding something else on your plate because you think it has to be a certain way? You think you have to be this perfect person. You have to be a perfect mom. You have to have a perfectly clean house for people to come over. I don't care anymore. I used to be that person, and I was exhausted all the fucking time. My house has to be perfect. I have to have this as an appetizer. Oh my God, if I don't have this person's not going to come over. And I exhausted myself trying to fit in ways that I didn't need to fit in. I need to have this perfect bag. I need to have a Louis Vuitton bag to fit in with my friends. I need to have this type of makeup. It's all fucking bullshit, and it's all fucking exhausting. When I stopped and just allowed myself to be Caroline, and I'm talking like, it took me back to like when I was a child. Like, there's been a joke since I was like younger, and I'm talking like middle school. My friends would be like, oh my God, Caroline just always carries the same purse. She just doesn't care. And I started to let that affect me in my 20s. And I was, my friends would carry $2,500 Louis Vuitton bags, and I thought I had to do that too. And so I obviously would not buy a Louis Vuitton bag, but I would go to Coach and get a couple $100 bag and carry it because that's what my friends did. And when I let that go, like, I've since sold all my bags. I don't even care. I literally carry the same bag every day. And it's a custom Freddie Mercury bag. And it's fucking awesome. I'm looking at it right now. It's sitting on my desk over there. It's so cool. And I love it so much. And it's like 100% me. I don't even care. Like, I will carry that bag for the next 10 years. So not only how much money am I going to save, I've never really like bought into that. Like, you have to have a certain bag to wear with a certain outfit. Like, to me, that was always so dumb. That's just my personal opinion. If you carry nice bags, that's great. I'm not knocking it. It's not me. And I stopped doing things that weren't me. And I started doing things for me and saying no to respect and honor me and my emotional well-being. And when you're making a decision that's in the best interest of your emotional well-being, you will never go wrong. Because you will never please everybody. And I spent so much of my life trying to please everyone around me that I was miserable. I wasn't happy with me. And so now I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going to be me. I'm not going to go get fake. That's another thing. Like, I'm not going to go spend money at the nail salon. Like, I always hated every now and then I like having like fake nails put on and like painting them pitch black. But like, this is like, realistically, like, I can do more with no nails, and it's just easier, and it's less money, and it's less maintenance. As I get older, I'm really like all about like what is low maintenance. When COVID hit, I swear to you guys, like, I wear makeup maybe once every 2 months now. I try to put makeup on when I'm doing a podcast episode. That's why I put on a little bit today for you guys. But other than that, I'm makeup free, which also saves a lot of money. I kind of want to like touch on like how much money you're going to save when you stop doing all these things. So anyway, you got to have balance. You have to learn to say no and be okay with it. Stop obsessing about things that don't motherfucking matter. If it's not going to matter in a year, like, think about that before you make a decision. Is this going to affect me in a year from now? There is no such thing as a perfect mom. We all yell at our kids. You are lying to yourself if you say you've never yelled at your children. Saying no to things to spare someone else's feelings. Fucking stop that shit. That's bullshit. Set boundaries for yourself and your life. That's my best advice I could ever give. Set boundaries for yourself and what you want for your life. People will respect those boundaries, but you have to set them. So those were all the questions. I think that's it. I think that's enough. I mean, this is a long episode, so I'm going to stop here. We are filming, me, Dana, and Lynn are going to film an episode all about sex next week or the week. Next week, next Friday. I'm super excited. I didn't want to do that one by myself. I feel like it'll be so much better to have them to bounce off of. We've already kind of started talking about it. We have a whole spreadsheet of things we want to touch on. So if you guys have any suggestions on what you want to hear, we're going to be talking about everything from like solo sex. We're going to be talking about, sex after you become a mom and how to find time, and marriage, and what to do if you're not feeling sexy in the bedroom and how that affects everything, and really just going into all the stuff that not a lot of people talk about. And it's really funny. When I first, I got a bunch of messages about you've been talking about your explant and all you do is talk about your boobs now. Like, you need to talk about sex because like no one talks about it, especially women. And it's funny, when I brought it up to Josh, he was like, "You're going to talk about that?" And I was like, why did you have that reaction? Like, do you notice how taboo? It's so ironic to me that men expect women to be like this freak in the bedroom. And that's what they really want. That's what all men want. I don't care who you are. If you're a man, that's what you want. But we aren't supposed to talk about it. And I caught him on that, and I was like, it's a part of life. Is it not? It's literally like eating. I mean, it's not like eating, but like it kind of is. Like it's a part of everyday life. Even if you're not in a relationship, it's a part of your life. So why is it weird for women to talk about it? Why? Even I was nervous when I got asked to talk about it. I was like, oh, can I talk about that? And then I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Yes, I can talk about that. Who cares? And then that's when Josh had that reaction. I was like, well, I needed his approval. And that's why I asked him. I'm like, this kind of involves you. If I'm talking about this, like, I can talk about my diet all day long. That affects me. But if I'm going to talk about sex, like, that kind of involves you. And if you're not okay with it, I won't do it. And he, of course, was like, I don't care. That's fine. So, stop shaming women for talking openly about sex because it's bullshit. So that's what the next episode will be on. Look out for that. Hopefully it'll be really funny and informative, and we're going to go deep. We're not going to hold anything back. So it's going to be hard. I'm not going to lie. There are things I'm like, ooh, it's going to be hard. But with Dana and Lynn here, they'll be my buffer. So, all right, that's it for this episode. I hope you guys liked the Q&A. I'm going to continue to do this from time to time. It was really fun answering questions. If you have any questions about macros or joining CWC and becoming a champion, we are doing first 30 days for free, and the 2021 challenge kicks off in a week. Not even a week, less than a week. Holy fuck. It starts January 1st, and you can start anytime. You don't have to wait and like sign up before January 1st. We take signups anytime. So you could start in February if you want. But I mean, look at the cash prize that's up for grabs. $2,000. You want in on that. So Caroline.fit is the website, and which I always put my link tree at the end in the show notes. It's always there. You can click my link tree and pull up the podcast, my book, my email, send me an email directly, my Instagram, my Facebook, Amazon account, all that shit is on there, including the website. So that's it. And I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas, and next episode will be all about sex. So please send in your questions, whatever they may be, and you can private message them to us if you feel more comfortable doing that instead of posting a comment on here. But that's it. I'm going to stop rambling, and I will see you guys later. Thank you for checking out the CWC podcast. If you want to learn more about our community, make sure to check out the show notes.